You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your number one source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV for 16 and Pregnant. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's 16 and Pregnant After Show.
I love this song.
Isn't
I have
it
got
great?
to say, if you can tell me right now you don't know every word, I know you're lying.
I know every single word.
Yeah.
This is
Doesn't
the
really.
best song ever.
It really is.
It takes me back.
It truly does. Hey guys, welcome to the after show for 16 and Pregnant, Season 5, Episodes 9 and 10. We've got a double feature for you guys. I'm Sterling Cates, and with me, the lovely Tiffany Williams.
Hello, hello.
So we're going to kind of break down both of these episodes. We've got Jordan from Episode 9, not Season 9. And Savon in Season 10. So we'll, not Season 10. I keep saying
Season
that.
10.
Yeah, let's just skip right ahead 5 seasons.
Season 5, Episode 9 and 10.
Right. So we'll start off with Jordan. If you want to, just kind of get into that.
Episode 9. Which, by the way, it was a doozy that we got 2 episodes. We were lucky to get to see 2 episodes this time, and they're normally just 1.
Right, and it looks like next week will be the same way.
Exactly, and it
with 2
also
new
looks
episodes.
like that might be wrapping up our season of
Yeah.
16 and Pregnant, but we'll see.
Yeah.
This episode, Episode 9, we were introduced to Jordan Cashmere. She's a teenager who lives in Baltimore, Maryland, just graduated high school.
Okay.
Was living with her parents. She met her boyfriend on Twitter.
That is crazy how
Isn't that
people meet on
crazy?
social media these days.
It's crazy, but that's the world we live in.
Yeah,
now.
and we see it on Catfish. You never know if
You never know what
people
you're gonna
are
get.
actually who they are, and it's kind of scary, but also at the same time, it's kind of nice. You have people online dating, finding love in new ways, but it can be,
I guess it's like the thrill of the unknown.
Yeah.
Of dating online. You just never know what you're going to get.
Desperation maybe, or
all
you
the-
get to a certain point and you're just like, man, maybe I should
Let
try
me find my
online.
boo on Twitter.
yeah. But don't you have to follow each other to be able to direct message?
The kids are kind of crafty these days. They do a quick DM me real quick.
Yeah.
Let's talk.
Yeah. All right. Gotcha.
I've met people through Twitter. I've had like lunch dates, not
Really?
romantically, no, but like
as
business.
friends? Oh, like networking.
Networking.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I could see how that could translate into romance.
Okay.
But considering that he was out of state when they met, I don't know how this worked out. But so anyways, Jordan is living with her parents, just graduated from high school, and her boyfriend, Derek, gets a scholarship. It looks like he played lacrosse for a college in the city that she lives in. So he moves in with her parents.
Gotcha.
And guess what happens next?
What?
A baby!
Oh!
So she gets pregnant, and Derek immediately quits school because he feels like he has to work now, takes up a temporary job, a seasonal job, and eventually the job ends. Dad gets pissed off. He's like, you gotta go. And so Jordan, being the in-love young lady that she is, she left with the boyfriend. She didn't want to separate their family, so she decided to leave the house.
Why did the job end? Did he get
Seasonal.
fired?
It was a seasonal
I
job.
see.
It looked like he might have been working at a restaurant or something. But anyways, it left, and it's as soon as it left, the family kind of had to move out because I guess the dad was probably already
Dad
pissed.
didn't support it.
Yeah, we never saw their parents throughout this episode at all because there is such a horrible relationship between Jordan and her parents because they didn't support the boyfriend. So she left. They were homeless, living at his friend's house.
Wow.
On the floor, sleeping on the floor. She's pregnant with a belly out to here. So
Do you think, would the parent, even though they had a bad relationship with the parents, would the parents have would have been able to keep Jordan in the house if she had wanted to?
I did. I do think that would have been the case, which you don't they don't emphasize the fact that this was a choice of hers throughout the episode. It kind of makes her parents look like the evil parents for not being supportive.
When really it was the guy they didn't love.
Taking a stand against them for kicking him out, which it's like a horrible...
It's not even their son in the first place.
Right. It's a horrible point for her to try to make, considering that she's so pregnant and so uncomfortable. So throughout the episode, we kind of see them hopping from place to place and looking for places to live, which was horrible. Early on in this episode, they discuss birth control and how Jordan isn't on it.
Right.
And then condoms are also not an option because Derek hates the word. He feels like it's a punishment to even hear that word.
How do you hate the word condom?
And
is what I really don't understand.
A horrible idea. I don't know how you hate it, especially when you have a baby that you're not ready to have on the way.
And we've talked about this in previous weeks and discussing episodes of 16 and Pregnant. We never really get to hear about the girls and the fathers talking about birth control and why or why not they're not on it. Last week she said she didn't want to gain weight or it would make her lose her hair or whatever that was. But it really does, it's interesting to me how so many of them aren't on birth control or using any types of birth control. But I guess if they were, they wouldn't be on the show.
They wouldn't be on the show, but they also wouldn't be pregnant,
right?
Which is not so bad of a thing.
But they never really discuss the reasoning behind why they don't do it, whether it's price or physical effects or anything like that. It's never they hate the word condom.
They're offended by the word condom.
Yeah,
that is
never the case. I've never heard that before.
It's kind of strange because like there are either some gross misinterpretations about the effects of birth control pills that kind of keep them away from it, or the fear of the side effects. And truth be told, birth control pills I've seen girls go crazy on birth control pills just because like the spike in hormones can be
that's true,
something to manage. But I mean, I would rather manage that than a baby for 18 years.
Yeah.
So anyways, early on we also met Jordan's friend Sugar, who seemed to really have her head on straight. She was a very straight to the point, honest girl who also graduated around the same time as Jordan and also got pregnant around the same time as Jordan, except she decided to have an abortion.
Okay.
So Sugar is really to the point, like, and Derek refers to her as negative because she kind of finds all of the bad things about any situation. Sugar
is she
will tell
negative
you.
or is she just being realistic?
I feel like, I kind of was wondering this because throughout the episode, she was able to find something wrong with everything. So it does look a little negative, but at the same time, it's kind of that friend that you need.
Yeah.
That's going to be honest with you. But she basically questioned her reasonings for doing this. And I think Jordan kind of had a feeling of seeing their lives going in different paths. They had grown up together. So it was kind of
sad to see.
Sad to watch that. Pamela and Tammy, we got introduced to also pretty early in the episode because Jordan was sick of staying with Derek's friends. So Pamela was Jordan's grandmother and Tammy was her aunt. They went to their house to see if they could find a place to stay. And it was one of the more awkward moments of the episode because they said no.
Yikes.
When your grandmother says that you can't live with her, it's kind of...
So obviously her parents had gotten to the grandmother before they did.
Well, her grandmother was like, I'm really sad that this is happening to you, but I just don't have any space here. And it's like, what do you do when you have
your grandmother of all people?
I know, and your aunt. They're like, you can't stay here. And it was just two of them in a house, but she's like, there's no room. And it's like, it seems like a theme within that family because I would almost feel obligated to take in my 18-year-old.
Like sleep on the floor or something.
But they gave her like $20 for gas.
Oh, good. That'll help raise a child.
Right. But I mean, I thought I would feel almost obligated to take in a loved one. Would you?
Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously you would want to do whatever you can for someone you love. It sounds like they kind of have a similar mentality as the parents and they want to kind of stay on the same page. They don't want to go against whatever her parents had said.
Right.
Because it's not their place. I don't know how close that family is anyway.
Right.
Doesn't sound like they're very close
or
very
seem
loving.
Like they're very close or loving. And Derek also says that throughout the episode that this is a very unique situation, that people's families just don't throw them out of the house.
It definitely is. It doesn't matter. I mean, we've seen time and time again on this show, yes, parents are very disappointed in their kids for getting themselves into this situation, but at the same time, we see more often than not that they're allowed to stay in the house and that they will support them in some respect.
Right.
Whether they are happy with the situation or not. So
there's that side of it, and then there's the other side that says, like, you know, there's no handbook that says just because I get pregnant that it's now your problem or everyone else in my family's problem.
It's a family. It's not, you know, you can't ever forget that no matter what happens.
Right. So they still had no place to stay, kind of hopping around. She stayed with Sugar a night. She stayed with a friend a night. And eventually Derek found Wi-Fi.
Oh, good.
And gave his dad a FaceTime phone call. His dad lives in Texas. His name is Dwayne. And his dad was pretty to the point and direct as well, because Derek, throughout the episode, plays video games quite a lot. Mm-hmm. And it just seems like he
on
has
his phone?
On whatever he can just play around with. Yep. So it seems like he has no fire under his butt whatsoever when it comes to getting a job to pay for this baby. And his dad seems like he's quite familiar with his son. So he's saying, you know, guess what, kid? The struggle is real out here.
It really is.
And he offers to fly them to Texas early on, but her insurance doesn't cross over. And I was also wondering, like, how are they paying for medical expenses and doctor visits and everything? So I guess that's their only kind of foundation. Insurance. Yeah. That they have. So they can't go to Texas yet. So the dad offered to have them stay with his friend Tracy, who has 3 kids of her own, is a single mom as it appears, and had a living room space for them to crash in. Mm-hmm. They go there. Tracy's really, you know, nice and welcoming. They don't know her well. I think Derek.
I mean, and also before we continue, this single mom raising 3 kids takes them in, and their aunt, grandmother, parents wouldn't.
Right.
I mean, that's just ridiculous to me.
It is ridiculous. And it was crazy because she didn't even know her.
Like, she has no obligation to these people.
So, oddly enough, Jordan was hesitant to take her up on the offer. She's like, let me think about it. I need to. They're like, we need to.
You don't have anywhere to live.
Think it over. And Derek is kind of like, yeah, it's better than sleeping on the floor at whoever's house. Anyways, they decide to move in, but the place is kind of a mess. So there's like poop on the floor, and then like there's right where I saw like a kid toy, and then there's like a hardened dog poop somewhere else. So they did a lot of cleaning to get the place ready for the baby.
That is disgusting. I know. And that can't be sanitary for babies and everything.
It's not sanitary, but I have seen worse on these episodes.
Oh gosh, that's so true.
It's so okay. Anyways, Sugar comes back into the picture, and they're having a car ride. Sugar's the one that's going to throw them a baby shower, and the conversation that they have in the car is Sugar pondering what it's like to be pregnant, and she asks, do people who get pregnant...
I thought Sugar was pregnant.
Before, but she got rid of it pretty early.
Oh, right. She had an abortion.
She says, the people who get pregnant want it more. And then she also says, is it possible to get pregnant while you're already pregnant?
Oh, geez.
What do you think the answer to that is? The answer is yes. I Googled it, and it turns out you can get pregnant while you're already pregnant?
With like, another baby?
With another baby, so you could have twins actually from different dads.
Wow.
But it's called superfetation. It happens really early in the pregnancy, and it's also very rare.
When you asked me that, I was like, oh, I'm going to say a stupid answer, and then you told me what I was like thinking. I was not expecting that to be.
It's kind of weird. I didn't think so either. I thought that was like an obvious no.
Yeah, obvious no.
It turns out that actually you can get
Sugar,
pregnant.
if you're watching, here's your answer.
I hope you're in medical school.
I hope you're watching.
Oddly enough,
how often has that happened?
It's very rare. Yeah. It's very rare. I think they said only it's happened to like a handful of women. But it's kind of odd. Can you imagine being pregnant with 2 baby daddies?
Wait, I thought for sure that wasn't possible.
You know, maybe it's not. Maybe you might want to double check
like I've seen that before.
But it's called superfetation. So
maybe it's just like a super strange situation that happens.
I think it is super.
Well, hey, you learn something new every day.
I think it is super strange. So anyways, they had the baby shower. That gave them the only things that they owned. Mm-hmm. And the option of abortion or adoption never came up. Like, that was never something that's considered, which is also odd for me to see during most of these episodes. They never talk about adoption.
Adoptions
is an option. So she actually was looking forward to being a mom and was happy about it. And eventually, during this episode, the car, which was the other thing that they owned, was called Bertha. Minivan, kind of shot.
Bertha.
It didn't want to start.
Uh-oh.
And it was snowing, cold outside.
Of course it was.
And they were a mile away from where they needed to be. And so guess what baby daddy of the year does for baby mama?
Nothing.
Makes her walk.
Oh, no.
Over a mile in the freezing cold.
Yikes.
God, it was...
such a good boyfriend.
It's awful.
First they're pregnant because he hates the word condom. And then he makes her walk a mile in the snow.
And she never really fusses pretty early on.
Okay.
She just kind of goes with the flow. I guess that's kind of what you have to do when you are pregnant.
Yeah.
Because you do have many bigger issues. So I guess walking a mile is water under the bridge.
Yeah, I mean, you're homeless. You're probably used to walking quite a bit.
After they walk home, she was pretty emotional, obviously.
Right.
Because he doesn't have a job still, plays video games, and doesn't really understand why she's so stressed out.
Yeah, I mean, what else could they be worried about? Life's pretty good right now.
Which is always the case with these boys. Like, they
never get it.
They never really get the urgency. So anyways, they have this fight, and he kind of ends it with, "You're stuck here. I can leave if I want to."
Wow. That's so messed up.
So he actually leaves her after that and goes on about his business just for the day. But still, who says that?
Right. That's really disrespectful, first of all, to talk to anyone, let alone someone who's carrying your child.
Oh my God. It was kind of sad watching that, because those are like horrible words to end on.
Yeah.
So anyways, he comes back, apologizes, they're all sweet, whatever. And the baby, they start having contractions. Time to go to the hospital. Mm-hmm. And it's up to her to make the decision of whether or not she wants to invite her parents to the hospital room, and she doesn't. Which is
I mean, would you invite them? They weren't supportive at all and kicked you out of the house, let you live on the streets while you're pregnant?
They didn't kick her out. They kicked him out.
She made the choice.
She made the choice to leave. But
if you were her parents, would you have let her leave?
You can't stop an 18-year-old. She's grown.
I guess that's true.
She's a grown-up. But she didn't want them to come because I guess that would be awkward anyways to try to patch up at that time. So, but to me, it's like you only have one birth of your first child. So,
do you think she should have invited them?
It's hard to say because we never saw her parents or their relationship.
Yeah,
so
I guess we don't know all the details of
their
relationship.
They could really hate each other. I imagine they must hate each other if you
she
let
didn't
your
invite
daughter go pregnant, homeless.
Yeah.
But who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, if the details aren't given, so we can't make any judgments about it. But there's obviously something going on if she didn't invite them.
Right. So anyways, after the baby is born, the house that they're living in already has 3 kids. And you can tell that it's a bit crowded in that house. And
the lady is fine with them being there with the baby.
Well, they start to have some friction. She ends up texting them that they need to be quiet because the baby's crying all night. And Jordan chose to breastfeed because she doesn't have money to pay for formula, which was also, every time the baby cries, she was actually feeding him every 30 minutes throughout the night, 1:30, 2 o'clock, 2:30. And it was painful to watch. And every time the baby cried, she wanted to hold him. And eventually Derek put his foot down about that because he wanted to train the baby that every time you cry, you're not going to be held. Which,
I mean, how old is the baby at this point?
Newborn.
Though? Yeah.
So I don't even know how you deal with that situation. That ended up making Jordan break down because she was so sad to see her baby cry. Yeah. And she didn't want to let it cry. I mean, how do you handle that?
I mean, I have no idea how you could just watch a baby
Sterling,
cry.
How do you...
I have no experience with the matter, but I can just imagine if I see a baby crying, I don't want to just watch it cry. Especially it's a newborn. It has no idea what's going on. It's not going to remember you not holding it that one time.
Right.
Well,
and I think it also has to be conditioned to know that you can't be held every time you cry. Because
Yeah.
otherwise you just cry all the
all
time.
the time.
So anyways, they kind of had a little fight about that, and I don't know how that ended. They cut to the next scene with Sugar, who's our brutally honest friend.
We like Sugar.
Actually,
Do we like Sugar?
I like Sugar,
Yeah, I
but
thought so. I was gonna say you didn't respond when I said that.
but Sugar made me like sad.
Yeah.
Because she was so honest. But a little bit before that, actually, Dwayne. Okay, I'm skipping forward. Tracy is gonna get kicked out of her house, or her lease is ending. That's who she's staying with. So they're about to be homeless again, and so Tracy's like, "You guys have to go at the end of the month because I have to move out too." Here they are again, homeless, and trying to find someone else to support them. So Derek calls his dad again, and his dad actually offers to fly them out to Texas again, which seems like a better option now because the baby's already here, and he could actually give them a job, give them both jobs at the cable company that he works at.
Okay.
Which is like
This seems like a good
things
route.
are looking up here, and it seems like they are until Sugar comes in the picture, and Sugar is like, "You're gonna go all the way to Texas by yourself. You don't know anyone there. What happened?
So what is everyone you know doing for you now?
Exactly. You don't have anything there. You have everything here. So what's gonna happen?
You have everything. You're homeless.
I know. That's what I was thinking too. What's gonna happen when he leaves you or gets sick of you? What are you gonna do then? This is Sugar.
Well, at least she has a job at the cable company.
Leave it to Sugar to find something wrong.
Okay, I don't love Sugar anymore.
So anyways, Derek kind of agreed that she was a Debbie Downer. But I think that kind of put some thoughts into Jordan's head. Actually, on the website, there was a poll about whether or not Jordan should move to Texas, and 55% said yes, 45% said no.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of weird that it was split.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But eventually they did end up moving to Texas, and that was the end of the episode. We didn't find out
We don't know what
more
happens after
about them, but I did look on Twitter, and turns out that they are still together.
That's good.
And moved back to Baltimore.
Okay.
Derek is working in roofing, and no idea what Jordan is doing, but she was tweeting about her to buy list, things that she wanted to purchase, so it seems like they have a pretty steady cash flow happening.
Okay, that's good. It's always good to hear.
So that was
well, I'm glad they moved to Texas to get kind of somewhat on their feet, little stable action.
It seemed
I feel like they should have done that in the first place.
Right.
I get the whole insurance thing, but I mean, when you think about the conditions that you're living in with a newborn, I feel like his dad would have been way more supportive than anything they had in Baltimore.
There is either that option. She didn't want to give up everything that she had, but I think she was being a little bit stubborn by moving out of her parents' house. I personally think she should have just stayed at home.
That obviously wasn't the most mature decision that she could have made.
Right. But it was a decision made out of love.
Yeah, with a guy that doesn't like condoms. It's always a good start.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, before we get into Savon, I just want to say really quickly, our girl, Maria Menounos, has a new book out, The Every Girl's Guide to Diet and Fitness. I've been reading this book. It's really awesome. It has a lot of cool recipes, lots of interviews with celebrities, and it's pretty much just, what's cool about it is that it's a lifestyle of just being active, eating healthy, and not one of those crash diets, like if you do this in 7 days, you'll be 20 pounds lighter. But it's like if you consistently are healthy, active, you're going to have a much happier and healthier life.
I like the book.
It's really good.
It's really good, and Maria is really open and honest about her life, and she kind of invites you into her life and daily routine, which is kind of fun to read about her method to the madness.
Right. I mean, if it's realistic for me to get a bikini body, I am all about it. So,
Do it.
Okay, well, let's move into Savon. So this is episode 10, because we got 2 new episodes this week. And so she's in Marietta, Georgia. She is a junior in high school, and she's juggling with being pregnant, being a student, and being a girlfriend, like most of the people on this show are. And what's different about Savon from some of the other girls we've seen is that as soon as pretty much she had sex with the baby daddy, his name is Eli, he disappeared. He didn't like her at all. They weren't in any sort of relationship. She pretty much just he used her for sex essentially, and then he left. He was known as like a ladies' man. Not in the picture at all. He didn't like her for her. They didn't even know each other basically. Wow. So he just kind of picked up and left. And even when she told him that she was pregnant, he immediately said, get an abortion. I don't want anything to do with it if you don't, whatever. And later we'll see, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but it's on the same topic of Eli, because really this is it for him in this episode. We never see him or anything. She had texted him after the baby was born, and he didn't ever respond to her text message. Wow. So that's just goes to show his involvement in that whole thing. And it's really sad to see, because she is a junior in high school, and she talks a little bit about how she knows he was the wrong guy, decided to do it too soon, the whole thing, wrong guy, and then it kind of traumatized her because she got pregnant by it.
I wonder, I mean, to me, that seems like the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
We're just talking about how these two were homeless, but they did have each other, and she did have a baby daddy that was in it to win it for the long haul. So then being ditched completely with a baby sounds like the worst case scenario to me.
Well, and the thing is that he was already out of the picture before she even found out she was pregnant. Like they had sex, and then she never heard from him again. Yeah. So it's kind of just one of those.
Was it a one-night stand?
I think they had sex twice.
Okay. 2-night stand.
Yeah, 2-night stand. But regardless, he was not a good person or is involved. But anyway, so she was in high school, had good grades. She was raised pretty well. She lives with her aunt and her 2 cousins in Marietta, Georgia. She plays basketball. She wants to go to college, play sports. Her dream is to be a singer-songwriter. She has a lot going on for her. She has a supportive family. But she has a boyfriend named Maui, and they met like Hawaii. I had to rewind and make sure that was right, but it is correct.
Maui Wowie.
Yeah, Maui Wowie, who I really like.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I don't know what it is. The past 2 episodes, I've really liked the guys.
We've transferred.
I know. You're really rubbing off on me. But so she lives with her aunt and the cousins. The aunt is supportive. She's able to live with the aunt, but the aunt is very clear about, I'm not going to babysit. I'm not going to be financially responsible for this child. I'm going to live my life, but, I'll help out, when I can. So it's not like I'm all in, she's like, I'm not going to pick him up from daycare. Like, you're responsible for this 100%.
Right.
So, which I think is good, because it's like, oh, wow, I really don't have any help.
Right.
And we kind of see throughout the episode, the aunt obviously doesn't leave her stranded. Mm-hmm. She definitely helps support her, but she's like, you got to pay me back. So,
well, good. That teaches her some responsibility. It's not just a handout.
Yeah, the aunt's pretty funny. And, we see her when they're in the baby store, she's hula hooping, and she's trying to get Savon to hula hoop with her, and she's just kind of like rocking back and forth with her big belly. It's kind of funny.
Wait a minute. So Maui.
Yeah, so let's talk about Maui for a little bit. So they started dating before Savon found out she was pregnant. But they hadn't been intimate at all. They have never had sex. They haven't done anything intimate. They had been dating for a few weeks before she found out she was pregnant. And by this point, Eli was already out of the picture. She was never with Eli. Mm-hmm. They just had sex and unknowingly got pregnant.
Right.
And then later, she started dating Maui, and she found out she was pregnant. And obviously, it's not Maui's because they haven't had sex before.
Wow. So, and Maui's sticking around?
So, yeah. So this is why I love him so much. Oh, God. So Maui just started college. So she's a junior in high school, but Maui just started college. He's not the baby's daddy. He plays football in college, and he has a job.
Go, Maui.
And he's just starting college when the episode starts. So he's gone during the week, but he comes back every weekend to hang out with Savon and kind of be there, and this whole thing. He's there.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That's insane. What is motivating Maui to stick around?
So here's the thing. I think they just genuinely like each other, because she's been open about how she's been like traumatized by having sex because she had sex with this guy and she got pregnant and he left her, and she's just very traumatized, as you know, you would expect by this whole situation. So she's open with him about how she's like not ready to have sex or be intimate anytime soon. And he's still there. So he's there the whole pregnancy. Like, he is with her.
Do you think any of that could have been motivated by the show?
I was thinking that at the very end. I'll tell you why when we get there. But I don't know. He does seem like I want to believe that he's genuinely nice. And she always talks about how the reason she likes Maui is that he is so honest and so genuine, and he's just a super sweet guy. And he talked a little bit about how I mean, he couldn't blame her for getting pregnant because it's not like she cheated on him, and it's not like, you know, she did all these things, because this was before they started dating.
Right.
It was just poor timing. And she obviously regrets it all happening, you know, being with Eli. She wishes that she had given Maui a chance before all of that had happened, because if she had, then it wouldn't be in the situation, because they were friends before. Maui and Savon were friends before they started dating, because they both played basketball and they knew each other through that. So I really like Maui, but we never see Savon really show any emotion, and I think she is, like I said, just very traumatized by it. I think she's very defensive, not being very open. I think she's kind of in shock. It kind of seems like the whole episode she was just kind of looking around everywhere she was. She never really talked much, and she never was doing anything to get prepared for the baby. She was always just either like hanging out with Maui, or going to get a drink, not a drink, but like a coffee or something with her friends, and just talking about it. And every time she was sitting down talking about it, she was always like, yeah, I don't have anything prepared. I don't have an overnight bag or any of this stuff. And I was thinking, why don't you do that instead of going to get food? Yeah, I just didn't see.
That makes too much sense, Sterling.
Yeah. I mean, if I could just shake some of these people
I
on
know.
this show.
I would start with Maui. I would start with shaking Maui.
So obviously she's worried that Maui would end things with her because of the pregnancy, because he's not the baby's daddy, and because they hadn't had sex or been intimate. I feel like, what's his like motivation to be in this kid's life unless he's just, you know, an awesome person,
unless a casting director or a producer put him there for the sake of the story.
And she obviously feels very uncomfortable and awkward that it's not his baby. And even when he like tries to hug her, she kind of turns the belly away, and like
I bet she's kind of embarrassed and uncomfortable about the whole scenario.
Yeah, and I mean, this Maui character has his whole life together.
Has it going on.
I mean, he plays football in college. He has a job. He has his life together, and I feel like he probably has other options.
I'm sure
at college. But he seems pretty loyal. Like, it never came up that he was cheating on her by any means. So. And just a side note, Eli, who's the baby's daddy, has other kids that he doesn't take care of, like by other women. So this is not a new thing for him. I just can't get over it.
Oh my goodness.
It's one of the biggest pet peeves of mine. He's not even responding to her at all.
That's just red flags all around.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
Awkward scenario.
Can't she turn him in or something?
Well, definitely, he's gonna have to pay child support for that baby.
Yeah,
legally, he has to support the baby.
We never see. I wish we saw in this episode more of her trying to get some of that, because this baby needs diapers. This baby needs, you know, a car seat, a crib. He sleeps in the bed with her.
Which is dangerous. That's like a number one no-no, because
she doesn't have a crib. She doesn't have anywhere. She's sleeping at her aunt's house. And the aunt is doing what she can to support her, but she wants all of her money back. So Savon doesn't have a job. She has no source of income. I really wanted to see them go after, like, at least her aunt, like, go after this Eli person.
Well, technically they can't until
the baby's born.
Yeah, so that they can do. He'd probably.
Well, they didn't even talk about it after the baby was born either.
Really?
like trying to get child support or anything.
Yeah, that would be like number one thing.
Yeah. And so while she's pregnant, she is like 30 weeks pregnant or more than that at this point. And so she obviously, you know, is 100% showing. It's pretty big belly. And she's trying to find a job. Even before
She goes looking for jobs?
She goes looking for jobs. And this, I kind of like giggled a little because the aunt is like in the room with her while she's getting ready to go look for jobs. And she tells her that employers are probably not going to hire her because she's pregnant, and they'll think she won't be able to find a babysitter, or she'll be like not flexible with scheduling and all that stuff. So she tells her not to tell the employers that she's pregnant. And she was like, yeah, just don't bring it up in conversation. and so she makes her wear this pea coat, and she like buttons it, and it's obvious. It looks like one of those like beach balls is in her stomach. Oh my God. And she's like, can you tell? Does it look like a pregnant? And the aunt's like, no, you can't tell. It just looks like you're a little chunky. And I was like, she definitely looks pregnant, like 100%. Because Savon is a pretty small person. Like her arms are pretty skinny. Her face didn't gain any weight. Mm-hmm. And she has this huge bump coming out of her stomach. But she goes around looking for jobs, and you see her getting applications and filling them out, and they never ask, or they never have that conversation with the employer, so she never tells them. But is it I think it's illegal. Yeah, it's like illegal to ask, but she was 100% obviously pregnant.
You can't not hire someone on the account that they're pregnant.
Right.
But however, it's like a 1% chance that you'll get hired if you're pregnant for obvious reasons.
Because you're about to go into labor.
Right. You're going into labor. You're going to have to take a maternity leave to stay with the kid. You're going to have to look for child services. Yeah. And if it's a full-time job, then they're going to have to pay for that insurance.
Right.
So it's not going to happen.
Yeah. But she's applying to places like a pizza restaurant and a guitar shop, and she really wants to work at the music shop because she wants to be a singer songwriter. So, and the guy there, the boss, asks her what she's looking for in a job, and it's funny because he's kind of looking her up and down, like he's looking at the belly, looking at her face, at her belly, and she just says, I'm looking for something relaxing.
Okay.
So yeah, okay. So
skipping
ahead, she's talking, like I was saying before, she's not prepared for the baby. Still at this point, no. She's due any day now. She says to her friend, yeah, every night I pray that tonight's not the night because I am not prepared. I'm just like, you have had 9 months.
Get prepared already.
She's not doing anything else. She's already started her online classes, and she's falling behind in those because she'd rather spend time with Maui when he's there. Not that he's keeping her from doing it, but
I bet it's like a nice little change of her reality to have him around.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like a peaceful escape.
And I bet she feels lonely and kind of abandoned. Because the baby's dad left. So, yeah. So, she goes into detail about how she had such a horrible experience with sex, and it looks like she's just about to start crying at any moment. And she talks about how she chose the wrong person, and she says she would not care if she never had sex again. And that whole scene was just so sad to watch because obviously this has been a very hard thing for her to deal with. But the fact that it's ruined, so many aspects of her life forever, and she's so not optimistic about the future, is really sad.
It is a horrible situation. Like, I'm pretty sure she's scarred and probably going to be for some time until she can work through that. But it seems like she has a good guy by her side.
Yeah.
To help her through.
Well, just wait. So she's still pregnant at this point, and Maui and Savon sit down with her aunt, and her aunt's basically, so what's your plan for the baby? And Maui, how are you planning? What do you think your role's going to be in the baby's life? And both Savon and Maui are just, we don't have a plan really. We're just going to go day by day, see how the relationship goes. Yeah, basically 100% no plan.
We're going to wing it. We're going to wing this baby.
That is exactly what they said. I mean, still at this point, they don't have any diapers or anything, or any plan about what they're going to do with their relationship. They've never even talked about their relationship and what they're going to do. It's so strange to me.
The beauty
and the aunt's just like, I don't think you guys will last. Like, well, she's honest. So the aunt is she kind of came to the realization that Savon's not going to get a job before the baby is born because she's due any moment. And so she's willing to help, but she wants to be paid back. At this point, Savon's grades are still suffering, but she's going out bowling with Maui and the whole thing. But then the next day, her and Maui have a talk, and they're talking about sex, and she's telling him how traumatized she is and how she doesn't think she'll ever have sex again. And he's like, what? Like, ever? Like, not even eventually?
That's a natural response, I imagine.
Yeah, and to me, I mean, obviously, this is a very sensitive topic, and she is traumatized, but she's like, do you think she's punishing Maui by saying, yeah, we're never going to have sex ever?
Not at all. I think she is in a state of shock.
Yeah.
Because she's in a horrible situation right now that she is dealing with.
Yeah.
And the oncoming, idea of bringing a baby into this world with a dad that wants nothing to do with her.
Yeah.
She doesn't have her parents in her life. She doesn't have a job. Sex would probably be the last thing on my mind too.
Right. Well, yeah, but he's a freshman in college athlete, and he's like, man, I've just been giving up so much for 9 months. Like, it's kind of like a waste of time at that point if you never think it's going anywhere.
Well, I would say so as well.
Yeah, anyway, so she has the baby, but it's in the middle of an ice storm, so an ambulance has to come and pick her up. The aunt can't get into the state because she had been out of town, and because of the ice storm, she couldn't travel into the state. Maui's away at college, so the cousin is at the hospital with her. As she goes into labor immediately, she gets epidural right when she gets there, comes out. She didn't scream or anything during the delivery. I was like, wow, that was one of the easiest deliveries I've ever watched, and seemed relatively simple.
She seems super laid back,
yeah,
even through pregnancy.
Yeah, I mean,
whatever.
she was sitting on the couch having these contractions, and you couldn't even tell. You know how most of them are like, I feel like I need to poop,
right.
and also she's like, it's kind of crampy.
Oh,
and then the next thing you know, she's holding the baby, and she texts the baby daddy. He doesn't respond. She hasn't called Maui at this point. She waits until she gets home to contact Maui, but even after a few weeks, she just doesn't feel comfortable, so they haven't really been talking at all. But eventually he comes over, and she just ends it. She says, I need to focus on being a mom. I can't be a full-time mom and a full-time girlfriend. And I think it really hit her that he's not the baby daddy, and that made her really uncomfortable. But at the same time, when she first came home with the baby, she had no clue what to do. She was changing the diaper by herself, and the aunt wasn't around when she was figuring all this stuff out. She had no clue what to do. She didn't really know. She was just like, I don't know. She was a look of panic on her face, and she's up all night with the baby. They're sleeping in the same bed. The baby's sleeping on top of her chest and the whole thing. And she obviously she didn't do any planning ahead of time. No parenting classes or lessons or anything like that. And now she's breaking up with Maui, and he's just like, I can't even say anything at this point. You've already made yourself pretty clear. And I feel like if I had known this was going to happen immediately after you had the baby, I probably wouldn't have wasted either of our times, the 9 months of pregnancy.
Yeah. Well, I could see how he probably felt like he was done wrong.
Yeah.
But at the same time, who knows what's going through her mind? This kind of seems like a little bit of depression, too.
Yeah.
In addition to her realizing what her priorities are, it seems like she's depressed and kind of pushing people out of her life that care for her.
She definitely is. She went on defense mode 100%. And even the aunt sits her down because she realizes this. And she tells her, I know you're holding something back from me. You're not expressing your feelings. And if you can't talk about it, it's not going to get any better. Because she was just like, I don't feel anything. So it obviously looked like she was becoming, depressed in a sense, feeling overwhelmed, and lonely.
Exactly. I think lonely is probably the key word here.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. Did she ever mention adoption?
Well, she had mentioned abortion in the beginning of the episode, but she decided she couldn't afford it. So she decided to keep it. She never mentioned adoption. And And I don't know, I felt like she just felt responsible for it, but at the same time, she was very laid back about it. After she couldn't afford an abortion, she was just, okay, this is happening. The whole episode, she was pretty chill. Like, nothing ever really happened. Even the breakup wasn't dramatic at all. She was like, okay, I got to be a mom. It was very low key. I definitely think she's very sad about it and very lonely. But at the end, the aunt agrees to watch the baby only for a couple of hours. And so they've been broken. Maui and Savon have been broken up this whole time, but they decide to meet up. And she reveals that she got a job at a pizza restaurant. She says she's been eating pizza every night. And Maui is really encouraging. Because she's complaining, well, not complaining, but just kind of venting, I think, because she doesn't really have anyone to talk to. She's saying, you get to play college football. I'll never have the opportunity to play college sports because I won't have time, all this stuff. And being a mom, I won't be able to ever be a college athlete, all this stuff. And he's just like, if you really want to do it, you can do whatever you want. You'll figure out a way to make it happen. You know, he's just being very encouraging, even despite the fact that she dumped him. I think he saw this whole thing. And she says, I'm really glad that we can be friends. And he said, you have no choice but to be my friend. I'll always be around.
Maui.
It was so cute.
So sweet.
He's really sweet.
They'll probably end up.
He's really cute, too. I was like, okay, if he was a college athlete, I feel like he probably had some, I don't know, but he was sticking around.
He should have options.
Yeah.
It seems like he has his head on his shoulders.
A great guy.
Hopefully, well, maybe she'll come around, to her.
So at the end of the episode, she's doing like all the other 16 and pregnant girls do, and saying they wish they had waited, they wish they had used birth control. You know, hindsight's 20/20. But she's also performing. You see her at, I guess it's like a small lounge or something. She's playing the piano and singing, and still working, trying to get through classes and go to college still. So it looks like it ended on a high note. Her and Maui are friends. I really hope they end up together.
You know, that seems like a more positive ending than the ones that we see normally. Because usually we don't get to see what happens in their life post-baby. But for her to kind of go out there and pursue it, you know, full force after the baby it seems like a good sign. Yeah. And I really hope that her and Maui can, you know, work it out and that he sticks around, because I really like him. We'll call him. Yeah. Give him a call. She needs to be with Savon and Eden. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we had 2 episodes this week. That was a lot. That was a lot of pregnancy and a lot of stuff going on there. A lot of information there. Yeah. Well, Tiffany, where can the people find you? You can find me on Twitter at Tiff's Tweets. That's with TIFFZTWEETZ. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Sterling Cates. And we have 2 more episodes for you next week, and we think those might be the finale. We'll double check that for you guys. But thanks for tuning in. Later.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.